this is all about collaborative working and contracting. First of all, some introductions. You're up bright and early then, Richard, in Canada. Oops, sorry. I need to use this thing. Can you... Technology. You know the problem you have with me with technology? Well, you've just witnessed it again. So, Richard Veneris from Veneris Partnership, and Tony Mapleston from ECI. So, welcome. You're hearing all right, Tony? You're nodding anyway.
You're on mute.
Oh, that's better, Tony. Okay. Right, good. We're underway. So this is all about collaborative working and contracting. Alison Nicol from Constructing Excellence, and you know me from ECI. So, just as an introduction, we've got an industry that everybody is aware of that's got a legacy of failing projects. And you know, it's no secret. We all know what the problems are. Reported on mega projects, $1 billion or over, fail to meet the business objectives. And what we're really talking about is continual delay, over budget. They don't start up as planned, and they often have poor safety records. And that's, you know, what we've been looking at on reports for the last few years. So, in February this year, McKinsey put out a paper talking about charting new approaches to capital project delivery. And I think the key points that come from that are first of all, the three systems, political, financial, and project delivery, that form the construction ecosystem can help to deliver the net zero emissions. So it's those three pillars that we need to think about. The political system is making progress. The coalition of leading financial institutions, there's 450 members from 45 countries, and they're representing about 130 trillion in assets that have been committed. We have the global project delivery system, that's us. And it is now our critical role. The other two are up and running. So we've got an extraordinary level of construction that has to be sustained for 30 years. So that gives us a workload for certain, but it brings with it the challenges. So, expectations of construction. Deliver large, complex projects rapidly, cost-effectively, with few carbon, with a low carbon footprint. So this is the real challenge for us. It means there's unprecedented challenges of speed, predictability, technology, capacity, safety and environment, and therefore we've got to go through transformational change. If we do what we've done for the last 20 years, net zero ain't going to happen. It's just as simple as that. And, you know, we're going to be sitting here as the industry that screwed it, and I don't think anybody wants to be part of that. So, we've got to start now. There was a report out yesterday by the climate change that's saying we have to do it today. We don't have the luxury. If we want to meet the emissions levels that was agreed in Paris, then we need to do it today. And we've got to meet targets by 2030. So it's not it's not something that we can really put off. And one of the things that McKinsey said, and why we're sat here now, is that the change must start now. The urgency for net zero is the driver. And this means there's a new model, a new level of collaboration required. That's the whole point. And throughout yesterday, and again this morning, Jay was talking about his preferred method of contracting for using AWP was collaborative working. So, yesterday, very quickly, we talked about needing to shorten delivery times, wastage to be eradicated, productivity improved, and capital used more efficiently. These are things that we've been talking about in this industry for a long time. Now it's crucial to act. So, we've as an industry, we've been have developed and are continuing to develop various tools. You know, it's not just AWP, and there's been some discussion about that. So it's the integration of those different tools, and I guess AWP can be at the forefront of that, but we can't ignore other things that we need to use. There's been talk about lean, etc., and digitalisation is obviously a key area, but also design for manufacture and assembly, etc. So we've got to take all of those things into account. So, collaborative working and contracts have been around for more than 25 years, but they've not become mainstream. We've seen that collaboration works. Alison, you've got some examples in constructing excellence, I think.
Yeah, we've got some brilliant examples. We've got things like, well, we've been running a series of collaborative working or collaborative contracting pilot projects with the Cabinet Office in the UK. So there's examples there of 20% savings on time. We had one fantastic example using insurance-backed alliancing, where they were able to come in on time and on budget through the pandemic on a project in the West Midlands. And I think that we know when people do it that it works, but people would still prefer to stick with what they know rather than taking that leap into, you know, something that has been proven to work in a lot of other contexts. You know, and we're starting to see that if you want to deliver innovation, you want to deliver change, it can't be done using traditional mechanisms of delivery. So I think that's the main thing that we're seeing, is that, you know, if you want MMC to work, if you want to deliver net zero, you need to collaborate, you need to bring everyone on board and find ways to share risk and share reward within that. We also had some fantastic pandemic examples of how adversity meant that people were actually they had to collaborate, there was no choice. And the next challenge for some of those programs is how do they then bring those into everyday business? How do you know, they'd streamlined their governance, they'd done all the right things, but then how do you do that in a day-to-day environment? It's going to be the next challenge for some of those projects.
Yeah. And Tony, I think you've got some, or a good case study example in oil and gas just recently.
Yes, we have, John. So since the Project Collaboration Toolkit was created and launched in 2016, we've conducted a number of different pilots to try and test out the toolkit against you know, real projects in terms of a collaborative strategy. There are some case studies available, and you know, those in the audience can actually look at those on the ECI TV website. But you're right, John. In more recent times, there's been a major project, an oil and gas project, delivered, which I think will actually drive learning for the whole of UK industry. So this was the CNOC Buzzard Phase 2 project. CNOC being an acronym for Chinese National Offshore Oil Corporation, but in the UK formerly known as Nexen Petroleum. So Buzzard Phase 2 has been on the go for quite some years. We had it listed as a pilot project for a collaboration toolkit. It delivered its first produced oil at the end of 2021, and we're still in the process of creating a case study for it. But suffice to say that although the project was delayed by 12 months because of the deferment of a major pipeline outage, which was critical to the schedule, and because of some impact from COVID on platform manning levels, it still managed to deliver to the revised re-baseline schedule. It had an excellent safety record, and it delivered a fairly substantial saving against its project control budget. I think uniquely in the current period of time anyway, it was delivered by an alliance of 6 contractors led by CNOC. And there's a lot of very, very valuable learning to be derived from looking at how these guys shaped up the project and how it was delivered.
Yeah, good. And we're looking forward to that case study when it gets published. It's going to be shortly, isn't it?
Well, hopefully, John. I think, unfortunately, CNOC are a bit distracted at the moment. They've just announced that they're going to pull out of the North Sea. So I think they're busy looking at other things. But we'll work with them and hopefully get the case study published within the next few weeks. Because,
the practice, the experience doesn't disappear, does it? I mean, it stands. So, we ought to try and use that.
Yeah.
So, now it comes to some work time. We've seen that collaborative working and various forms of collaborative contracting actually produce results in terms of schedule reduction, cost reduction, and other benefits of people working together and solving problems before they become problems. So what we'd like you to do is to think about this at your tables and just discuss. And with 2 questions. What needs to fundamentally change in engineering construction to enable collaborative working and contracting to become mainstream? It's been around for 25 years, but it's not mainstream. And we've got major owners now saying their preferred method of contracting will be collaborative working. So what's stopping it? And the second question is, what are you going to do in your organisations to promote collaborative working and contracting? So let's give this, how are we doing? Give this 20 minutes or so, and let's see where you guys get to, and then we'll sort of share some ideas and sort of explore those a little bit further, so that we can then report back to the main group on what our thoughts are from this group. Okay?
We should be getting those questions up in the screen in a second.
And we should be able to use Slido, right?
Well, we've got Slido, but if people struggle to get onto Slido, which would never happen, ever, we should have... there we go. There you go. Those are 2 questions.
I think with this size group, we can just take the notes. Yeah, so we don't need Slido. But whatever you choose, guys, it's up to you. We just want your feedback. So I want you to discuss, kick it around, brainstorm, come up with some ideas, and then we can have a further discussion. Give it 20 minutes. Tony and Richard, are you still receiving us? Right.
Yes.
Great. We had you blanked out a little bit. Tony will be back in a minute, I guess.
Yeah, he took a call.
All right. Okay. Okay. So we're at that question. What's your thoughts on this? What do we have to do to get collaborative working mainstream?
Sure. You guys hear me okay? So a couple of things we touched on was that here at the table we've got representation involved in projects where the owner is engaged. So we didn't have anybody where the owner was like a spectator, which would have been a good cross-section. But anyway, I think we agreed that owner engagement was sort of a foundation for collaboration. The other point that came up sort of right at the end here that I thought was really good was one of the things that we need to change is that there's not enough evidence of what a win-win contract looks like, and of course, what sort of things you would put in a contract to make it collaborative and win-win.
Success of collaborative contracting, or evidence of what a contract needs to include?
I should think both.
Okay.
So yeah, so what needs to be in there to make it win-win, and some proof that that actually works. Is that where you were going with that? Yep. Yep. And I think there are, that thinking, once you said that, I was thinking, I've seen some examples of projects that said, hey, we set up contracts this way and it drove this sort of behavior, but it's not really well documented. So you're right. I think we need some more evidence there. One of the other things, of course, that is right in the center of this whole conversation is risk management, and who owns it and what can you do about it. And I know we talked a little bit about essentially what that is, but I don't think we resolved that either. But ultimately that needs to be part of the conversation. And the only other thing we talked a little bit about was just having a clear understanding of cost and schedule. What's the drivers on specific projects? That needs to be clear and understood and communicated, I guess. Good?
Thanks, guys. Andrew, can we hand it to you?
Okay. For us, we went right back to the beginning, and the first question was, what is it? What is collaborative contracting? And between the four of us, we didn't have a standard defined answer. So the first thing is educate people on what it is. Alignment of goals, and we talked about this yesterday in the executive forum, is everybody's doing it for their own purposes. Everybody's got a boss. Every organization has a balance sheet. Everybody has a reason that they're doing this work. And a lot of the times with a transactional basis, it's designed to support, I'm only worried about me. So it comes back to, what is the project goal? Is it defined? And are you working to support that goal? Somebody brought up yesterday a very, very simple answer where they said, the question needs to be asked every time there's a situation, every time there's a squabble, what is the project goal and is this going to support it? If it isn't going to support the project goal, get out of the way. We also had a little bit of a Richard III moment about you need to kill all the lawyers because lawyers tend to make this a little bit more. I apologise if there's any lawyers.
Have we any lawyers
present.
in the room?
Apologies to the lawyers in the room. I'm gonna claim that. Yeah, but.
Shall I write? Sorry, what was your name again?
Yeah. I'm seeing my immigration status going to change in the future, but. One of the other things we talked about, and I think Jeff alluded to it as well, is sharing successes. It's one of those things, nobody likes to be the guinea pig for anything. And I mean, that's the reason, the likes of Jay were standing up here at the beginning to say, we've done it, it works, people can see it, and nobody thinks that they're the first ones out of the gate to do it. There are some people that love being innovators, but a lot of us don't want to start down a path on $1 billion project trying something for the first time that nobody's ever done. So sharing those successes, getting people understanding that there's already been seen and been done. And I think the last one was just balanced contracting style. Not having a contract that's too slanted in any direction, where the contractor, we tend to push problems downhill, even to the point of, to the pipe fitter in the field, normally ends up being the one that finds out a lot of problems in a project. But we need to make sure that the contracting style is balanced well enough that the contractor isn't unfairly penalized, and equally that the owner, the one paying the bills, isn't being raked over the coals for absolutely everything. And if everybody gets to make some money, everybody gets to get some benefit out of it.
Can I make an executive decision around sharing success and also sharing lessons learned, so you learn as much from what the pitfalls are?
Hi. I think from our point of view, as we've gone last, we're just going to echo a lot of points. Some of the things we wrote down here it's about understanding the share of risk on a project and who has responsibility, but also who's best placed to mitigate that throughout that process. And to your point, what that then does is bring that best for program decision making and making sure that there's an agile incentive model so no party is particularly aggrieved either way, and also understands from the outset that there may be some best for program decisions that are going to be made, and that's part of that process. So it's about having quite a grown-up attitude to that. And I think to point of the next question, which was, what are you going to do about it? Well, that's about early engagement, and that's about really bringing them people on through the outset. That's through engaging with discipline, subcontract, bringing them through the process. It enables ownership, it drives innovation, it does all of that good stuff. And that was about where we were with it.
So have you answered the second question as well?
Yeah.
You were, short and sweet.
Before we move to that one, Tony, Richard, have you got any thoughts, comments on what you've heard?
Yeah, I think I would agree with the points that have been made. I think our experience with piloting the collaboration toolkit in the oil and gas sector is that for collaboration to become mainstream, we're going to need to see some cultural change. Yep. So even though there are many examples of projects that have delivered successfully by adopting a collaborative strategy, it certainly isn't mainstream in oil and gas at this point in time. Mm-hmm. Some organisations get it and some don't. Organisations are in completely different positions, I think, in terms of their willingness to change in the direction of collaboration. Mm-hmm. And some organisations, quite simply, are just waiting to follow a strong lead. I'll name a couple of organisations who you could probably think of as good examples. We mentioned the CNOC project earlier, so CNOC and Shell, I think, as clients or project lead entities. These organisations know how to recognise when collaboration will add value and allow them to deliver their business case. Yeah. Contractors, I think the one that stands out for me is Subsea 7. In many of the projects that we've been involved in, Subsea 7 have been part of the delivery strategy. And quite simply, organisations like Subsea 7 have collaboration built into their DNA. Yeah. We need to actually sort of get the centre of gravity shifted in the direction of more organisations like Subsea 7 who are willing to actually get into arrangements where people can genuinely collaborate and trust each other.
Yeah. Richard, have you any thoughts on what's been put forward?
Yes. Some of the comments reflected the application of change management methods. And I see this as one giant change management exercise at an industry level. which you know, you may attempt to use change management within an organization, but in this case, we're trying to change a whole industry. So most change management approaches sort of start with this idea of awareness, which relates to some of the earlier remarks about what is this thing, what is this collaborative working and contracting. Some of them relate to, some of the change management principles relate to the desire to change or the need to change. And so those things relate to the comments that were made about owner engagement and what's the win-win and so on. So I tend to look at this through a change management lens as a sort of a logical progression to create a shift or a transition from the state that you're in now to the more collaborative state that would exist in the future. So that would be my comment on that.
Great.
As an organizing principle.
Thank you. So we come back to question 2. So be very quick. What are you going to do in your organisations? Any?
Apart from kill all the lawyers.
Well, you know, I can tell you a story about lawyers, just as an interlude while you're thinking about what you're going to do in your organisation. So you might have heard this story, but I'll tell it anyway. There's a guy with a hot air balloon in a basket, flying along. Wind's got hold of him, taking him off course, he's lost. So he looks down. Richard, you're a lawyer, of course, aren't you? Never mind. I always like someone at distance embarrassed. So he looks down, sees a guy on the ground, and he said, "Hello down there, where am I?" And the guy says, "You're in a basket." So he said, "Yes, I know that." He said, "But where is the basket?" "It's fastened under a balloon." "Yes, I know that." "Where is the basket and the balloon in relation to the ground, though? Where am I?" "You're 50 meters from the ground." So the guy in the basket says to the guy on the ground, "Are you a lawyer?" He says, "As a matter of fact, I am. How can you tell from that distance? Everything you've told me is correct, but of no bloody use." Right. Excepting for certain people, of course. Any thoughts? What are you going to take away in your organisations? What are you going to say to your colleagues about collaborative contracting and working?
Just to endorse the last point made by Richard there, this is a organisational change, and you can follow that roadmap. Yeah, basically that's a good answer.
If I take that one a step further then, Jeff, organisations have to go through organisational change to adopt it. Yeah? Any other thoughts on that?
Most of it's just sort of the flip side of the things we were pointing out earlier. For example, we need to train our people on what it is. We need to have those successes to be shared with the team so that they understand it. And a lot of it's just that mindset of we've got to get out of the idea. Like we're here in the context of AWP. AWP, the A of AWP is the concept of bringing construction in early. And how many times have you seen construction in the room before the design freeze? And yet we're still expected to get construction involved, and then we give them a bid and say, "Give us your best lump sum price." So it's just, I think AWP can actually, funnily enough, play a role in it to say, in order to facilitate what we're doing here, we need the permission to get construction in the room, and that might change the adversarial or style of the way we would normally do the contracts. And also, one of our number pointed out, standard contracts, starting to use some standard contracts that are available, not just everybody making up their own terms and conditions for everything to help make it clean.
Thanks.
Just one point. There's a shortage of resource in the market, and there's an expanding demand. There's all these projects that are all going to be completed in the same time frame. If the companies don't realise it, you've got to collaborate to secure that resource. So I think that's key.
Is that collaborating across projects and across different disciplines? Is that industry level collaboration? Because I've been talking with major projects in the UK, and you know, they need to collaborate to make sure that they don't overheat local markets. Pardon? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. I think you'd agree, Tony, wouldn't you, that one of the benefits of collaborative working is the reduction of man marking.
Yeah, absolutely, John. So, you know, one of the case studies, which is available on the website, relates to the Shell Brent Bravo decommissioning project. So this was the preparation for lift and removal and disposal of the topsides from the Bravo platform. That's a case study, I think, in genuine integrated team working. And by comparison to the exercise that the previous exercise on the Delta platform, the project saved a ton of money. You know, some of it through lessons learned by comparison to the previous project, but a lot of it was down to just eliminating overlap and unnecessary man marking. And in my view, that nearly always is indicative of a lack of trust. If you know, project lead entities believe that they need to actually team up to double up on roles that are actually being provided by you know, a selected contractor, it just is indicative of the fact that they don't believe that who they've chosen is capable of doing what they're asking them to do. So I think the team cost saving for you know, the Brent Bravo exercise was something like 20%. You know, so you know, again, if we're going to introduce mainstream collaboration across the industry, we've got to actually get into the habit of you know, building teams based on the best players available from whoever may be able to offer them, and not actually having you know, an unnecessary amount of role duplication.
Okay, Tony, thanks. There's a couple of points here. ECI has developed this project collaboration toolkit. We will give you links to be able to download that, but that's the basis of being able to work collaboratively. It's the methodology, and Tony was the prime architect of that document. We also have developed between us, the three of us, a collaborative working agreement that is designed to work with the project collaboration toolkit, and that's ready for publication shortly, and we're going to get that out. It's been through some peer reviews, but that'll also be available, and it's ECI document. It's going to be free to users. And between us, we've also set up a collaborative contracting community worldwide. Richard, do you want to walk us through what that's about? Introduce it to people?
It would be my pleasure. I have prepared a quick presentation about this. So one thing that often happens with a conference is that people come to the conference and then they leave. And there can be sort of a lack of continuity as a result of that. And so I've brought this community practice forward in several conferences as a way to allow people who are, you know, are interested in this topic to continue to explore it and share with their peers and learn. And so that's essentially what we're offering to you today. So this is a relatively new community, and it's intended to be welcoming to anybody who perceives themselves to be collaboration minded and is interested in collaborative working and contracting. I see myself, it was mentioned that I'm a lawyer, so I often refer to myself as a recovering lawyer. And I also have a great deal of experience in supply chain and projects, and in that background, I am trying to change our discipline, how lawyers behave, how procurement people behave, how project managers behave in the direction of collaboration. So that's sort of who I am and why I spent the time and effort in trying to stand up this community. So what is a community of practice? So going along with the earlier comments around, what is a thing that you're introducing that is new. So a community of practice is a little bit different than a community of interest. A community of practice is a place where a group of people with common goals and passions and expertise can come together to share and grow a practice, a method or a way of doing things. It's not the same as a community of interest where perhaps you may have a strong interest in a particular football team and there may be a community for that football team. That's not the same community of practice in a community of interest. So community of practice is about everybody in that room being able to access resources so that they can become better at collaborative working and contracting, so should they choose. So what's in it for any prospective member? Well, first of all, there's opportunities to connect and dialogue with like-minded peers, much in the same way that you have a reason to come to a conference. Although, because it's a virtual environment and it's global, you could run into peers from all over the place. For example, and it is about 5 a.m. here, so about 3 a.m. I received a number of requests from various different places in the world to join the community, including Spain or in the UK. And we have people from Canada, the US, Russia, Australia. So the idea is that you can sort of stumble across people that have same interests as you, same practices as you, and learn from them, and which you would normally have never found them. In addition, the community has created and is curating a knowledge library. And if anybody's done any research on a topic, it takes a lot of time. You have to spend Google search and making perhaps reference to more erudite knowledge areas or white papers, things like that, beyond what you might be able to find on the internet easily. And that all takes a lot of time. So the thinking behind the community was create a library, curated and created by members, and put it all this stuff into one place, so that people who are interested in collaborative working and contracting can find it. Similarly, within the community, you will find peers and topic experts, and you can simply message them and start a conversation with them. And all of this allows you to confidently grow your own practice. It's a safe place for you to do that with people who are like-minded. So this community of practice is supported by industry. There's a number of industry associations and owners that are behind it. For now, it's free to join since it's still quite new. We've got about 100 members. It's not a huge community, but that's not bad for less than a year. And it's also private. So it's by invitation. So you ask to be admitted, and we do a little bit of vetting, and we admit people. And so of course it's open and growing, and we welcome people to join. So this is just a quick look at what the website for the community looks like. So I'm not sure if this presentation is going to be circulated or not, but if you click on that link at the bottom, you will be able to find your way there. And this is sort of just a snapshot of the inside of the community. As you can see, you could join the community and you can post things.
Sorry, we're running a bit of time, short of time.
Oh, this is the last slide. So you can go into the community and you can create content. You can post things, you can run polls, you can post articles. And on the upcoming events that John had mentioned, this is an example of an item that's in the community that we recently put there. So if you have any questions, just email me right here.
Great. Richard, thanks. Sorry to interrupt. We're planning 2 webinars. 28th of May, we're running a webinar together on the ECI TB toolkit. It's an introduction to it, a walkthrough. how it can be used, what the benefits are. And on the 16th of June is a similar webinar to the ECI's collaborative working agreement. Another walkthrough to showcase it, show what the benefits are, etc. So we can give you links to those.
Thanks for the opportunity to present.
Yep. Richard, thanks. We're going to go back and tell everybody about what we've discovered. Okay. If you guys want the links, we will get them to you. We were going to have it up on screen, but we will distribute those. Anybody that wants it to join, and you can see it from that web page anyway. Okay. I think we're there. Thanks very much. I hope you found it interesting, at least. Okay. How can we get those to everybody, Alison? Yeah, this link here, to the documents and the invitation and everything else.
See you, Richard.
We're done, are we? Okay. I guess I should go to sleep now.